the 1800s, a handful of Jewish families, driven from their homes in the Middle East, landed in China with practically nothing. They built empires that didn't just make them fantastically wealthy, they forever changed the face of modern Asia. Their names were Sassoon, Kadoorie, and Arnhold. These were merchants, bankers, and industrialists who saw a world of opportunity where others only saw chaos. They financed wars, built city skylines from the ground up, and controlled the industries that powered a continent. It's a story of unbelievable wealth, bitter rivalries, and stunning resilience. But this isn't just about money. It's about how a small group of outsiders played a massive role in creating modern China. It's a story of how they dominated some of history's darkest trades and built some of the world's most breathtaking landmarks. And it's a story of survival, of how one family gambled big and lost almost everything to communism, while their rivals made a brilliant pivot that secured their dynasty for another 100 years. This list of the 10 biggest Jewish family businesses in China isn't a simple countdown. The entire landscape was dominated by a few colossal dynasties. To understand their impact, we have to start with them. Then we'll uncover the other key players and the modern businesses that have sprung from their legacy. This is the story of the incredible fortunes and influence that shaped China. In the 19th century, one family seized control of the world's most lucrative and destructive trade. Their name was Sassoon, and their business stretched from London to India to China. They were called the Rothschilds of the East, and their fortune was built on a deeply controversial commodity, opium. By the late 1800s, the Sassoon family practically owned the opium trade in China, creating a dynasty of unimaginable wealth. But their story is just the beginning. The Sassoon legend doesn't start in China, but in Baghdad. For centuries, the Sassoons were the treasurers and leaders of the city's Jewish community, a powerful and prestigious role. But in the early 19th century, a hostile new governor threatened the family's patriarch, David Sassoon. Facing persecution, he made a fateful decision. He fled. In 1829, he escaped Baghdad and eventually landed in Bombay, India, then a hub of the British Empire. It was from Bombay that David Sassoon built his global trading empire. He founded David Sassoon and Company in 1832, at first dealing in things like cotton and textiles, but his real genius was his business model. Just like the Rothschilds in Europe, David Sassoon placed his 8 sons in charge of branch offices in key trading hubs across Asia. This created a powerful and loyal network stretching from India to Burma, Malaya, and most importantly, East Asia. This structure gave the family complete control over their business, from sourcing to shipping to sales, all with ruthless efficiency. When the First Opium War ended in 1842, the Treaty of Nanking forced China to open 5 port cities to foreign trade. Sassoon saw his moment. In 1844, he sent his son to establish a branch in Hong Kong, and just a year later, another branch opened on the Bund in Shanghai. The main reason for this expansion was simple: to cash in on the opium trade. While opium was illegal under Chinese law, British merchants, protected by their military, smuggled the drug into the country. The Sassoons didn't just join this trade, they perfected it. They bought up unharvested opium crops directly from Indian producers, which let them undercut competitors who had to use middlemen. They even ran their own fleet of opium clippers, fast ships built to move the drug as quickly as possible. Their dominance was swift. By the 1860s, Sassoon and Company was taking over the trade. By the early 1870s, the Sassoon family handled an estimated 70% of the opium trade out of India. They flooded China with opium and English textiles and took out silk, tea, and silver. The profits were astronomical. Opium became the world's most valuable single commodity, and the Sassoons became arguably the richest family in Asia. But the Sassoon Empire wasn't just built on opium. As their wealth exploded, they diversified. In 1864, David Sassoon was a co-founder of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, known today as HSBC, one of the most important financial institutions in Asia. The family's business was a well-oiled machine, with branches in London and Manchester, all staffed by people brought from their community in Baghdad. After David's death, his sons kept the empire growing. His eldest son, Abdullah, took over the family business, but his second son, Elias David Sassoon, split off in 1867 to form a rival company, E.B. Sassoon Company. This new Sassoon firm was fiercely competitive and eventually became even more influential in China. In 1877, Elias made a legendary real estate deal, buying a prime piece of land on the Shanghai Bund. By the 1920s, that same property's value had skyrocketed, a testament to the family's incredible foresight. If David Sassoon laid the empire's foundation, it was his great-grandson, Sir Victor Sassoon, who built it to its most dazzling heights. Born in 1881, Victor was larger than life. A playboy, a passionate photographer, and a brilliant businessman, he was left with a permanent limp after an airplane crash while serving in the British Royal Flying Corps during World War I. When Victor took control of the new Sassoon firm in 1924, he made a decision that would change his family's destiny and Shanghai's. Sensing the political tides shifting with Indian nationalism and being fiercely anti-communist, Victor bet on China. In the late 1920s, he began moving the family's operations and a huge chunk of their fortune, an estimated $500 million in today's money, from Bombay to Shanghai. This single act helped turn Shanghai from a trading port into the undisputed business capital of the East. Victor Sassoon didn't just invest in Shanghai, he built it. He poured his fortune into real estate, kicking off a construction boom that defined the city's golden age in the 1920s and 30s. He started Cathay Land Company and Cathay Hotels Ltd., and with the architecture firm Palmer and Turner, he began putting up glamorous Art Deco towers all over the city. His crowning achievement was the Sassoon House, built on the prime Bund property his grandfather had bought decades earlier. When it opened in 1929, it was one of the tallest and most talked-about buildings in Asia. It housed offices, a shopping arcade, and on its upper floors, the legendary Cathay Hotel. The Cathay was advertised as the finest in the Far East and became the glittering center of Shanghai's social life, where Victor entertained stars like Charlie Chaplin and Marlene Dietrich. At the very top, in a lavish penthouse, lived Victor himself, overlooking the city he was creating. Today, this iconic building is the Fairmont Peace Hotel, a monument to the Sassoon legacy. But Victor's empire was much bigger than one hotel. At his peak, he owned over 1,800 properties across Shanghai. His influence was so total that one scholar said, "Shanghai cannot be understood without the Sassoons." Victor also played a vital humanitarian role. As Jews fled Nazi persecution in the 1930s, Shanghai became one of the only places in the world they could go without a visa. Victor Sassoon used his immense wealth and influence to help these refugees, providing housing, food, and schooling for thousands in what became known as the Shanghai Ghetto. The Sassoon dynasty in Shanghai, which had lasted nearly a century, came to a screeching halt with the rise of communism. After the 1949 revolution, the new government seized their massive property holdings. The family that built modern Shanghai had lost their biggest gamble, and their reign as the kings of the city was over. You can't tell the story of the Sassoons without talking about their greatest rivals, the Kaduri family. The two Baghdadi Jewish dynasties were tangled up from the start. In 1880, a young Ali Kaduri left Baghdad and, like many others, got his start working for the Sassoons in Hong Kong. But the apprenticeship didn't last long. Family legend says that during a plague outbreak, Ali gave disinfectant from a company warehouse to Chinese employees. When his Sassoon bosses chewed him out for giving away company property, Ali quit on principle. That one decision launched a new dynasty. The Kaduris would later joke that their coat of arms should feature a barrel of disinfectant. Ali Kaduri's business style was different. While the Sassoons built their early fortune on opium, Ali skipped it completely. He started his own stock brokerage and diversified, investing in utilities, rubber, real estate, and hotels in both Shanghai and Hong Kong. His strategy was more like a modern-day Warren Buffett: find undervalued opportunities and build for the long term. The Kaduris and Sassoons were fierce competitors, but together they fueled the economic boom in Shanghai and Hong Kong. The Kaduris, along with Ali's brother Ellis, were incredible philanthropists, building schools and hospitals across China and the Middle East. But the real genius of the Kaduri family wasn't just in making money, it was in keeping it. This is where their story takes a dramatic turn away from the Sassoons. As political chaos brewed in mainland China in the 1930s and 40s, Elie Kaduri and his sons, Lawrence and Horace, saw the writing on the wall. While Victor Sassoon was doubling down on his Shanghai real estate, the Kaduris were making a quiet, strategic pivot. They had the incredible foresight to see that the political winds were turning. Before the communist takeover in 1949, the Kaduris started converting their physical properties in Shanghai, the buildings and land that Sassoon had so much of, into liquid assets like bonds and company shares. Then they carefully moved this wealth out of Shanghai and into the safety of British-controlled Hong Kong. This single act was one of the smartest moves in modern business history. When the communists came to power, they seized the Sassoons' massive, immovable real estate empire, wiping out their Chinese assets. The Kaduris, on the other hand, had successfully moved their fortune. While the Sassoons' reign in Shanghai was over, the Kaduris were just getting started on their next empire. With their wealth safely in Hong Kong, the Kaduri family, now led by Elie's son Lawrence, turned their focus to the small British colony. Back then, most investors saw Hong Kong as a colonial backwater, a malaria-infested rock with little potential. But the Kaduris saw its future as the gateway between China and the rest of the world. Lawrence Kaduri made a visionary bet that would power the city for the next century: electricity. He took the reins of China Light and Power, CLP, a company the family had invested in early on, and massively expanded it to meet the needs of Hong Kong's booming manufacturing sector. Today, CLP Group, still controlled by the Kaduri family, supplies electricity to 80% of Hong Kong's population. By investing in the city's core infrastructure, they made themselves indispensable. The Kaduris also dominated luxury hospitality. Their company, the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels, owns the world-famous Peninsula Hotel Group. The Peninsula Hong Kong, their flagship, has been a global standard for luxury for nearly a century, hosting everyone from world leaders to movie stars. The family's Hong Kong empire was a model of smart diversification. Their utility company powered the city, their real estate shaped its skyline, and their hotels welcomed its most important visitors. They built a legacy that was woven into the very fabric of modern Hong Kong. The Kaduri dynasty has now lasted 5 generations in Hong Kong. They survived the fall of empires, the Japanese occupation of WW2, and the 1997 handover of Hong Kong to China. Their secret has been their ability to navigate huge political shifts while remaining influential but not overtly political. Today, the family, led by Lawrence's son Michael Kaduri, remains one of the wealthiest in Asia, with an empire valued at over $12 billion. In a final symbolic twist, the Kaduris have even returned to Shanghai, opening a Peninsula Hotel and bringing their legacy full circle. While the Sassoons and Kaduris were the two giants, they weren't the only influential Jewish families shaping China's economy. Among the most prominent were the Arnolds, whose trading company, Arnold & Co., became a major force. The company was founded in 1866 by Jacob Arnold and his partners. They set up shop first in Canton, then opened branches in Hong Kong in 1867 and Shanghai in 1881. Arnold & Co. was a classic trading firm, or Hong, that dealt in a huge range of goods. By the turn of the 20th century, the firm had exploded with 37 offices across China and buying offices in London, Manchester, Berlin, and New York. The Arnold family business became deeply intertwined with the Sassoons. In the 1930s, a controlling interest in Arnold & Co. passed to the Sassoon Group, and Harry Arnold became a close associate of Sir Victor Sassoon. The company headquarters even moved into the Sassoon house on the Bund. But the Arnold story has its own unique twist of survival. After the 1949 Communist Revolution, just as the Sassoons were losing everything, Arnold & Co.'s headquarters was moved back to Hong Kong. The connection to the Sassoons was eventually cut. In 1957, a man named Maurice Green, who had worked for Arnold in Shanghai before the war, bought the controlling interest in the company from the Sassoon Group. The Green family, also of Jewish heritage, has owned Arnold & Co. ever since. They transformed the old trading house into a leading supplier of building materials and engineering equipment, playing a key role in Hong Kong's construction boom. Today, Arnold & Co. is still a successful family business, a quiet but enduring link between the old treaty port era and modern China. One of the most lasting impacts these Jewish families had wasn't in any single product or building, but in creating the financial architecture of Asia itself. To run vast trading empires, you need a sophisticated banking system that can handle international currencies and provide capital. When the existing banks couldn't meet their needs, these families just built their own. The best example is the founding of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, or HSBC. In 1865, it was David Sassoon, along with other major foreign firms, who co-founded the bank. The Sassoons, with their sprawling network across Asia, knew how critical it was to have a bank that was actually based in the region and understood its business. They didn't just put their money in the bank, they were architects of the financial system. This involvement went far beyond one bank. The businesses of both the Sassoons and the Kadoris were, at their heart, financial enterprises. They acted as private banks, extending credit, managing investments, and moving huge sums of money across continents. Eli Kadori built his early fortune by starting a successful stock brokerage in Hong Kong. This financial diversification gave them stability and crucial market intelligence, letting them spot opportunities before anyone else. These families weren't just playing the game, they were writing the rules. The era of grand family dynasties dominating entire industries in China is over, but the spirit of Jewish entrepreneurship has found a powerful new life in the 21st century: technology. The modern story isn't about opium and textiles, it's about AI, life sciences, and fintech. And this new chapter is all about the powerful partnership between Israeli innovation and Chinese scale. A key figure bridging this gap isn't a Jewish businessman, but one of Asia's richest men, Li Ka-shing of Hong Kong. While not Jewish himself, Li Ka-shing has become a major channel for Chinese investment into Israeli tech. His venture capital firm, Horizons Ventures, actively invests in Israeli startups and famously made a fortune on its early investment in the navigation app Waze, which was later sold to Google. But his most impactful move came in 2013 when the Li Ka-shing Foundation made a massive $130 million donation to Israeli prestigious Technion Institute of Technology. This was the largest donation in the Technion's history at the time, and it was for a specific purpose: to create a joint research institute between the Technion and China's Shantou University. The Guangdong Technion Israel Institute of Technology, or GTIIT, was born, creating a formal bridge for sharing Israeli tech expertise and cultivating a new generation of engineers and scientists in China. This partnership is the new model: Israel R&D plus China manufacturing plus global markets. This has opened the door for a new wave of Jewish entrepreneurs. In cities like Shanghai and Beijing, innovation parks have popped up specifically to foster this collaboration. The China-Israel Changzhou Innovation Park, for example, has attracted hundreds of Israeli or joint venture companies. These partnerships focus on high-value sectors like healthcare, AI, and robotics. This new generation represents a different kind of dynasty, not one of family name, but one built on intellectual capital and cross-cultural innovation. One of the most surprising and fastest-growing business sectors in China with a Jewish connection is kosher food. It's a quiet boom, happening not in Shanghai's gleaming skyscrapers, but in factories all over the country. China has become the world's fastest-growing producer of kosher-certified food, with hundreds of factories making everything from raw ingredients to finished products. This growth isn't for China's tiny domestic Jewish population, it's driven by global market demand and pure business opportunity. International food companies in the US, Europe, and Israel are increasingly sourcing kosher products from China because of its manufacturing power and lower costs. Chinese factories are now making kosher-certified candy for Walmart, soy proteins, food additives, and canned vegetables for export all over the world. For Chinese manufacturers, getting a kosher certification is seen as a mark of high quality and safety, which helps them tap into lucrative international markets. Some factories have reported sales jumping by 40% after getting certified. This has led to a kosher revolution in China, with production rising dramatically year after year. This industry has created a niche for Jewish businesses that provide certification and supervision. Rabbis and kosher experts now travel across China inspecting production lines to ensure the complex rules of Jewish dietary law are followed. It's a perfect example of modern globalization, where ancient religious traditions are creating brand new economic opportunities in the world's manufacturing powerhouse. The Jewish business presence in modern China is more diverse than ever. Since China's open-door policy in the 1980s, and especially after normalizing ties with Israel, a new wave of Jewish expats, entrepreneurs, executives, and diplomats has moved to China's biggest cities. Today, there are established Jewish communities in Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou. Unlike the old dynasties, this new generation isn't dominated by a few powerful families. It's made up of individual entrepreneurs and smaller companies carving out niches in China's modern economy. In Hong Kong, for example, Jewish founders are leading companies in cutting-edge fields like fintech and renewable energy. They're carrying on the entrepreneurial spirit of the Sassoons and Kadoris, but rebooted for the 21st century. The community infrastructure has also become more formal. A turning point was the arrival of Rabbi Shalom Greenberg and his wife Dina in Shanghai in 1998 to set up a permanent Chabad house. What began as a small community of a few hundred expats has grown significantly, with 13 Chabad centers now operating across China. They provide the social and religious backbone that allows this new business community to thrive, a big change from the past when community life often revolved around the patriarch of a single dominant family. A key reason this is all possible is China's unique cultural context. Both historically and today, China is notable for its lack of state-sponsored anti-Semitism, something that makes the Jewish experience there very different from many other parts of the world. This welcoming environment has made it easier for Jewish communities and businesses to put down roots and grow. No story of business is complete without the philanthropy and community structures that support it. The legacy of Jewish family businesses in China isn't just about commerce, it's also about profound generosity and community building. This tradition of giving back, or tzedakah, is a thread that runs from the 19th century all the way to today. The historical families were immense philanthropists. The Sassoons and Kadoris built schools, hospitals, and synagogues across Asia and the Middle East. Sir Victor Sassoon's support for Jewish refugees in Shanghai is a monumental example. Eli Kadori was a passionate Zionist who helped acquire land for the Hebrew University in Jerusalem and even convinced China's first president, Sun Yat-sen, to endorse the Balfour Declaration. Today, that spirit lives on. The Li Ka-shing Foundation's massive donation to the Technion is a modern act of philanthropy that builds educational bridges. But maybe the most crucial community builders today are organizations like Chabad. While not a family business, their work is foundational to the entire modern Jewish business scene in China. By setting up community centers, schools, and kosher kitchens in cities across the country, organizations like Chabad provide the essential infrastructure that lets Jewish entrepreneurs and professionals live a full Jewish life while pursuing business in China. They create the network that connects people and supports families. In that sense, they are the social and spiritual successors to the great patriarchs of the past, who also knew that a successful business empire needs a strong, supportive community. The stories of these families are packed with incredible lessons on strategy, resilience, and the tides of history. What did you find most surprising about the rise and fall of these dynasties? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more documentaries about the hidden figures who shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. From the opium-fueled fortunes of the 19th century to the high-tech partnerships of the 21st, the story of Jewish business in China is a sweeping saga of ambition, adaptation, and influence. The Sassoons, with their legendary wealth, built the Shanghai of the Golden Age, leaving behind iconic landmarks that still define the city, even though their empire there eventually crumbled. Their great rivals, the Kadoris, showed incredible foresight, pivoting to Hong Kong and building an infrastructure and hospitality empire that has thrived for a century. These families, along with others like the Arnholds, were more than just merchants. They were city builders who turned backwater ports into global hubs and financiers who helped create the region's banking system. Their legacy isn't just of profit and loss, it's one of shaping modern Asian commerce itself. Today, that legacy continues in a new form. The age of sprawling family dynasties has given way to an era of individual entrepreneurs, Israeli tech pioneers, and innovative partnerships. The modern Jewish business presence in China is a testament to an enduring spirit of entrepreneurship, supported by strong community infrastructure and a unique cultural environment. It's a remarkable story of how a small group of outsiders repeatedly found opportunity in a foreign land, shaping its economy and leaving a mark that's still visible today.